The Knights Templar. It began in 1119 as warrior monks protecting pilgrims traveling to Jerusalem during the Crusades. But very quickly, they became far more than soldiers. Because carrying coins across dangerous roads meant almost certain robbery, the Templars built one of the earliest international banking systems. Pilgrims could deposit money in Paris and withdraw it in the Holy Land, using written notes that worked like proto-checks. This made them trusted financial middlemen across Europe. At their peak, the Templars owned land in every major kingdom, built castles, ran farms, even operated their own fleet. Kings and nobles borrowed heavily from them. Think of the Templars as the medieval version of a global bank with its own private army. But enormous wealth turned them into targets. By 1307, King Philip IV of France, drowning in debt to them, accused the order of heresy. In a shocking purge, hundreds were arrested, tortured, and burned at the stake. The Pope disbanded the order, and their treasures either seized, hidden, or, according to legend, lost forever. Even centuries later, their story fuels mystery. Were they cunning bankers, victims of greed, or guardians of hidden riches? Whatever the truth, the Templars created the blueprint for international finance, and their dramatic fall gave birth to one of history's most enduring legends. The Medici. This family rose in 15th century Florence, starting as merchants but transforming into Europe's most powerful bankers. They perfected double-entry bookkeeping, expanded branches across Europe, and became the personal bankers for popes, monarchs, and merchants alike. If a king needed a war loan or the Pope needed funds for St. Peter's Basilica, chances are the Medici's money made it happen. Their influence wasn't only financial, it was cultural. They funded artists like Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and Botticelli, sparking the very heart of the Renaissance. Florence became a center of art and knowledge because Medici gold paid for genius. At their peak, four Medici family members became popes, two married into French royalty, and countless others held political office in Florence. This was a shadow empire, controlled not by armies, but by credit ledgers and patronage. But like all dynasties built on power and debt, crises hit. When loans to risky clients failed and rival families turned against them, their banks collapsed in the late 1400s. Still, the Medici legacy endures. They didn't just bankroll the Renaissance. They shaped modern banking and proved that money, more than crowns or swords, could rule the world. The Freemasons. It began in the late Middle Ages as simple stoneworkers' guilds. But over time, their lodges shifted from literal builders of cathedrals to symbolic builders of networks. By the 17th and 18th centuries, those networks included merchants, philosophers, and politicians, men who held real economic and political influence. While the Freemasons never operated as a central bank, members often controlled trade guilds, held lucrative construction contracts, and quietly supported one another's businesses. This created an invisible web of patronage that outsiders viewed as suspicious. And when powerful figures like George Washington, Voltaire, and Mozart were revealed as Freemasons, the idea of a secret society with a hidden hand over governments and economies exploded. The Brotherhood's rituals, secrecy, and symbols only added fuel. They became linked to every kind of financial conspiracy, from controlling the American Revolution's financiers to whispers that they influenced central banks and even modern corporations. Do they secretly pull economic strings? History shows their power was more about networking than official banking, but the aura remains. For hundreds of years, the square and compass has carried the reputation of men quietly shaping money, politics, and society behind closed lodge doors. The Illuminati. It was founded in 1776 in Bavaria by Professor Adam Weishaupt, with a simple but radical mission: replace superstition and monarchy with reason and equality. His small circle recruited lawyers, writers, and even nobles, aiming to quietly infiltrate existing power networks, churches, courts, and especially financial institutions. The logic was clear: control the flow of influence and money, and you reshape society from within. At its peak, historians estimate a few hundred to perhaps 2,000 members, mostly intellectuals spread through German territories. But in 1785, the Bavarian government outlawed the order, fearing sedition. Within a decade, it had practically vanished. On paper, the Illuminati died almost instantly. Yet the myth was only beginning. Conspiracy theories spun wild: that they secretly guided revolutions in France and America, that they run banks, corporations, even modern governments. Despite existing for less than 10 years, the Illuminati became the default symbol of a hidden elite pulling the world's economic strings. Reality: they were a small Enlightenment society crushed by kings. Legacy: they remain permanently etched in culture as the ultimate puppet masters of global wealth. The Rothschilds. The story begins in the late 1700s, when Meyer Amschel Rothschild, a coin dealer in the Frankfurt ghetto, built a banking business from almost nothing. His genius move, sending his 5 sons across Europe, Paris, London, Vienna, Naples, and Frankfurt, creating one of the world's first truly international banking networks. At a time when transporting money was risky and wars constantly drained treasuries, the Rothschilds could shift funds across borders faster and safer than governments themselves. They financed emperors, built railroads, underwrote industries, and became the go-to bankers for European monarchies. During the Napoleonic Wars, their ability to move gold across front lines was so effective that legends grew. One false rumor even claimed they learned of Napoleon's defeat a day early and made a fortune manipulating the stock market. What is certain is that banks dominated 19th century Europe. With that power came suspicion. As a wealthy Jewish family at the center of finance, they were cast into countless conspiracy theories, accused of secretly controlling currencies or even entire nations. The reality? They were pioneers of global finance whose real wealth eventually spread across charities, art, and investments. The myth? That the Rothschilds are still the hidden puppet masters of world money. Skull and Bones. It was founded in 1832 at Yale University, a secret society for just 15 elite students chosen each year. Outwardly, it looks like initiation rituals and odd symbols, an imposing tomb-building, cryptic ceremonies, but its real influence comes from who ends up inside. Bones men include U.S. presidents like George H.W. Bush and George W. Bush, cabinet members, CIA directors, senators, and countless Wall Street executives. In other words, the roster reads like a directory of America's political and financial elite. While the group itself isn't a bank, it functions like a pipeline of privilege, where future leaders bond behind closed doors, then carry that loyalty into government, finance, and intelligence. Because of that pedigree, Skull and Bones has been accused of acting as a hidden doorway between Ivy League education and the centers of American power. Conspiracy theories claim their members steer everything from wars to Wall Street bailouts. The truth? They are less a shadow government than a network of influence by birthright. But in a nation obsessed with transparency, few groups symbolize the uneasy link between higher education, money, and political control more than the secretive society of Skull and Bones. The Pilgrims Society. It was founded in 1902, with branches in London and New York. Its purpose? To strengthen ties between the British Empire and the rising power of the United States on every level, political, cultural, and above all, financial. Membership was, and still is, invite-only. It includes bankers, CEOs, ambassadors, newspaper magnates, and even royalty. Think of it as a discreet social club where the richest and most powerful on both sides of the Atlantic dine together, toasted the special relationship, and discussed mutual interests. Those interests, of course, often involved money, international trade, major loans, and the coordination of economic policy during tumultuous times like World War I and II. Because presidents, prime ministers, and media titans have walked through its doors, critics call the Pilgrims a bridge of hidden influence, where deals are made not in parliaments, but private banquets. To others, it's just a gentleman's club with fancy dinners. Yet secrecy fuels suspicion. More than a century later, the Pilgrims Society remains a symbol of how Anglo-American elites quietly synchronized business and politics, creating an enduring perception of a financial hidden hand across the Atlantic. Bilderberg Group. It began in 1954 at the Hotel de Bilderberg in the Netherlands, bringing together about 120 of the most influential people in the Western world: prime ministers, CEOs, central bankers, media executives, and royalty. The idea was simple. After World War II, Europe and America needed strong ties to avoid another global catastrophe. Since then, the group has met every year, in total secrecy, with no public agenda, no press access, and no official records released. Attendees range from NATO generals and World Bank presidents to Google executives and finance ministers. Within that privacy, they discuss the future of energy, trade, global governance, and yes, money. Supporters say it's just an informal forum to share ideas freely. But secrecy breeds suspicion. Critics call it the ultimate backroom meeting, accusing Bilderberg of quietly influencing wars, elections, and even the global economy itself. What's undeniable is this: when you put presidents, central bankers, and billion-dollar CEOs in one locked hotel, discussions have gravity. And that's why the Bilderberg name endures as shorthand for a world where ordinary citizens see headlines, while real conversations happen out of sight. Trilateral Commission. It was founded in 1973 by billionaire banker David Rockefeller and political strategist Zbigniew Brzezinski. Their mission was to create closer economic cooperation between North America, Europe, and Asia, the 3 major industrial regions of the world. Membership was exclusive: leading bankers, CEOs, academics, media voices, and politicians. They weren't running secret armies or banks, but they were developing policy papers and strategies that shaped how nations coordinated trade, energy policy, and finance. Many members later turned up in high-level government roles, from U.S. presidents to central bankers. Supporters argue the commission was simply a think tank meant to prevent economic rivalries from tearing the world apart. But critics see something else, an unelected elite sketching the blueprint for globalization, a system where corporations expand, nations grow interdependent, and ordinary people feel left out of decisions. Whether praised as visionaries or blamed as architects of lost sovereignty, the Trilateral Commission became a lightning rod. To this day, its name surfaces whenever people debate who really benefits from globalization, and whether the global economy is being shaped by open democracy or by powerful networks behind closed doors. Council on Foreign Relations. It was founded in 1921 in New York after World War I. Its goal wasn't secrecy in the classic sense. No rituals, no locked tombs, but something just as powerful, an elite network dedicated to shaping U.S. foreign and financial policy. From the start, its membership roster looked like a who's who of American power: Wall Street bankers, oil executives, media moguls, top academics, and future presidents. The Rockefellers funded much of it, and its flagship journal, Foreign Affairs, became the playbook for American global strategy. While CFR isn't a central bank, its influence is undeniable. Many U.S. Treasury secretaries, Federal Reserve chairs, and cabinet officials have been CFR members. That revolving door gives the group a reputation as the unofficial boardroom of the American empire. Critics accuse it of quietly pushing globalization, free trade, and military interventions that serve elite interests. Supporters counter that it's just a policy forum where smart people debate big ideas. But for over a century, CFR has symbolized something bigger: the reality that economic power and political power in America often sit at the same dinner table, and the rest of the world feels the effects. The Jesuits, it officially the Society of Jesus, was founded in 1540 by Ignatius of Loyola as a Catholic religious order. Their mission was education, missionary work, and defending the Catholic faith during a turbulent period of Protestant Reformation and rising secular power. But behind their robes, the Jesuits also built a reputation for extraordinary influence and wealth. They established hundreds of colleges, became advisors and confessors to kings, and managed vast land holdings, trade routes, and estates. In effect, they controlled wealth through education, politics, and property, tools as powerful as any bank. Monarchs often trusted Jesuits with sensitive missions, which only deepened their image as the Church's hidden power brokers. By the 1700s, their influence was so widespread that European rulers grew suspicious. Several nations expelled them, and even the Pope temporarily suppressed the order in 1773. Yet the Jesuits revived and carried on, especially through their schools, which produced generations of leaders, scholars, and financiers. To this day, whispers persist that the Jesuits secretly guide global Catholic finance, and even shape geopolitics behind closed doors. Fact or myth, their legacy proves this. Few groups in history blended faith, money, and political power as effectively, or as mysteriously, as the Jesuits. Opus Dei, it means the work of God, was founded in 1928 in Spain by priest José María Escriva. Unlike older Catholic orders, Opus Dei encouraged everyday professionals, lawyers, doctors, bankers, politicians, to live holy lives inside their careers, turning daily work into spiritual service. But what made the group controversial wasn't its theology, it was its membership list. Opus Dei attracted some of the world's wealthiest elites and deeply embedded itself in banking, law, and government circles, especially in Spain and Latin America. Critics saw this as a network of influence, where devotion and loyalty doubled as economic and political leverage. By the late 20th century, Opus Dei held major sway inside the Vatican, even helping shape papal elections and financial reforms. Its secrecy, strict discipline, and wealth sparked rumors it was the Church's own shadow government. Then pop culture lit the fire. Books and movies like The Da Vinci Code painted them as secret assassins and financial masterminds, cementing their reputation far beyond their actual record. The truth? Opus Dei is part spiritual movement, part elite network. But in the public imagination, it endures as proof that in religion, quiet loyalty and money can sometimes carry more weight than open power. The Golden Dawn. It emerged in 1887 in Victorian Britain, founded by three Freemasons fascinated by mysticism, alchemy, and ritual magic. On the surface, it was an occult society. But in practice, it became a gathering place for wealthy elites, intellectuals, and artists who wanted secret knowledge alongside social connection. While the Golden Dawn wasn't a financial institution in the traditional sense, its members often came from privileged circles, barristers, aristocrats, and authors who already held cultural and economic weight. that gave the group a reputation for being more than just candles and robes. Occult rituals mingled with elite networks, and critics claimed they blurred the line between mystical power and political influence. Notable members included poet W.B. Yeats and magician Aleister Crowley, who made the order infamous with his scandals and rivalries. Internal splits eventually tore it apart by the early 20th century, but the Golden Dawn's ideas lived on, influencing modern occultism, pop culture, and conspiracy theories about hidden cults tied to politics and wealth. Its real financial power may have been limited, but its symbolic power, the idea that secret rituals and elite privilege could merge, continues to fuel the image of shadowy groups mixing magic, money, and control. Bohemian Club, or Bohemian Grove. It was founded in 1872 in San Francisco as a retreat for artists and journalists. But over time, its exclusive summer gathering at Bohemian Grove, a redwood forest in California, shifted from poets to presidents and became one of the most infamous secret meetings in the world. Every July, around 2,000 of America's most powerful men, U.S. presidents, Fortune 500 CEOs, Wall Street bankers, even defense contractors, gather for 2 weeks. On paper, it's relaxation, theater, music, and ceremony. But behind closed gates, attendees discuss the future of politics, business, and finance, free from press or public oversight. The group is most notorious for its bizarre ritual, the cremation of care, performed before a towering stone owl. Leaders shrug it off as harmless pageantry, but critics see it as elite bonding through secrecy, cementing a loyalty that carries into Washington and Wall Street. Some of the 20th century's biggest policies were rumored to be seeded here, from the Manhattan Project to financial deregulation. True or myth, Bohemian Grove embodies the suspicion that the real deals shaping our economic and political future aren't made in Congress, but in the shadows of California's redwoods. World Economic Forum, better known as Davos, was founded in 1971 by economist Klaus Schwab. Unlike older secret societies, it's technically public. Its reports and speeches are online, but its real influence comes from the closed-door conversations that happen every January in the Swiss Alps. The guest list is staggering. Billionaires, central bankers, corporate CEOs, and heads of state, all flown in to discuss shaping the future of trade, technology, finance, and climate policy. On paper, Davos is just a global forum. In practice, it's where the world's economic and political elite can coordinate away from voters, press, and parliaments. Supporters argue it's a necessary gathering, where leaders cooperate on global problems. Critics see it as an exclusive club of unelected elites, setting agendas that disproportionately benefit corporations and the wealthy. The phrase Davos man has even become shorthand for a borderless ruling class that puts profits above people. Whether praised as a platform for solutions or attacked as a boardroom for the world, the WEF embodies the fear that in our era, money talks loudest when the rest of us aren't in the room.